How did you deal with, you're at university, and so I guess there's a whole bunch of people that, going out on the town on a Friday night, and you're sitting there studying and training, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been tough.
And also never taking the lift. Even the library was on the fifth floor because I said at the first week at uni, I'm not going to use the lift while I'm here. And the books for sports science were on the fifth floor. So I'm walking up and down a lot of stairs with huge journals back in the day before we could just get on the web and check it out.
Showing your age now.
Yeah, carrying the books up the stairs for training because I thought, it would be good for training to do that. But I was told by one of my professors at uni that you can do three things at university. You can study, you can, be successful in sport and elite level, or you can party, and there's only time for two. So just make your choice now. So I did.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why did you, I'm always fascinated by someone's, I guess, their goals, because you make those decisions, in my opinion, based on the goals and what you want to achieve. What were those? Were those goals just to literally become an elite?
I just wanted to be really good at something. That's all I wanted to do. And cycling had given me an opportunity for me to perhaps explore that. I know I was ahead of the average person at it because I'd been racing since I was 9 years old. So I had that in my back pocket. I had a lot of preparation physically and mentally before I got to that stage. So sport gave me the opportunity to be really good at something, and that's all I wanted. I didn't have an image like, I think, you hear of athletes imagining themselves on the podium at the Olympics as children. I never imagined it. I just wanted to be really good. So I had to give it 100%. I had to give it everything I had in that one moment because the chances of it working out were so slim. I didn't want to have any regrets and think I missed my chance. I didn't want to miss my chance.
That's amazing. So you ditched the partying,
Yeah,
basically.
I did.
That's really good, actually. Those three, I'd not thought of that.
Yeah,
Because there are only three
things you can
two
do.
out of those three,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Okay, cool. So you did did you get to the Commonwealth Games 2002?
I did. Yeah.
What happened
Turned up. I did okay.
Where was that?
It was in Manchester.
Oh, okay.
So it was very convenient for me
Yeah.
at the time. I was training in Manchester and the Commonwealth Games were there. So it was the first time I'd competed in a sort of an international multi-sport games, and it was a great experience. So I was glad to be there. Didn't have a lot to offer, but
How did it go?
I mean, yeah.
Because I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think when you with EXP, for example, or when you're starting any business, you jump into it, you prepare for it, you do your business planning, a bit like your prep that you did for many more years than a quick business plan, but you jump into it, and as a business person, you have no leads, you have no database, you have nothing, no experience of what it's like to actually try and be a business person. And I kind of feel like it might be similar to, you go to the Commonwealth Games, albeit very different,
Yeah.
but you're there, and it's like, were you rabbit in the headlights thinking, oh my God, I don't know where, I've done all this training, I'm really good at what I do, but it's that oh shit moment.
I think for me, my goal was to qualify for the games, and I had a standard time that I had to reach, and then I wanted to get to the games and do and perform in a way that was. It was like I either wanted to be close to my PB, to not to be overwhelmed by the games. For me, it was to qualify and to deliver a performance that didn't mean I was going to be overwhelmed by the scenario, because it was something I'd never experienced before. So I didn't have any expectation beyond that, and in itself, that was quite a big, ask for me in that final year, stepping up to sort of that standard. So. I was pretty happy to be there, and it was really the start of my career. And also, when you go to a multi-sports games, you don't have many opportunities as an athlete to do that. So every time you can use one as an experience, I always say it's so important to young athletes to experience the media and the huge format and the security and everything that goes on, which is very different from anything I'd ever experienced before.
Were you being interviewed by that point?
Yeah.
Media-wise?
Yes.
Tell us about that. How was
so
that?
I used to be terrified of speaking in front of people. The only time I got sent out of school was in English literature, when I refused to read in front of my peers because I was afraid of stumbling over my words and looking like an idiot. Going to a press conference, for example, or having interviews in the press was a big deal. Quite a lot to take on board, and I hadn't necessarily been media trained by that point, so I was winging it a little bit. So it was a bit daunting, and I was quite nervous about doing those things.
Yeah. just like in business, you're
Yeah.
winging it at the
Winging
start.
it, winging it at the
more
start.
you do it, the better you get.
That's
I
it.
guess.
It's practice. It was definitely an opportunity to practice.
Yeah, for sure. So that was 2002, and then obviously we're gonna talk separately about 2008 onwards. But how did you? I'm fascinated. I talk internally at EXP about having an Olympic mindset, because I think that it's really important that you look 4 years ahead, 3, 4, 5 years ahead, and take the actions today that are going to impact you positively in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
Was that coming out of the Commonwealth Games of 2002? Was that kind of, did you then set your sights on the World Championships, the Olympics in 2008, the next Commonwealth Games, and what did you put in place to make sure that you succeeded in the next? Because obviously that was a learning platform, that Commonwealth Games, by the sounds of it. What actions did you take to really make sure you were going to kill it in the next few games?
Well, after the Commonwealth Games, I basically set up in Manchester with the team. So I'd qualified for the games, I qualified my position on the team, and I was fundamentally a full-time athlete from that point onwards. So my lifestyle changed a lot, but it's definitely a 4-year cycle, at least. You think about how many Olympic Games you may be able to squeeze in a career, and some people manage like 4 or 5 if they're lucky, but you think like 2 or 3 is realistic, but you always work in a 4-year cycle, and 4 years seems a long way away when you start at the beginning of the cycle. And in between those, you've got World Championships every year. And then between those World Championships, you've got 4 or 5 World Cups every year. So you're traveling to every continent to do a race. And then you might put the nationals in there, because they still used to turn up and support the national championships in the UK. So everything becomes very scheduled and very formatted. And then you work back your plan from the goals that you want to put your most energy into. So but in the interim goals of the World Championships, you work back how many World Cups, how many points you need to get, what races you're going to enter. So it's a lot of back planning from the goal. You don't just keep adding things and hope you arrive somewhere. You very much focus exactly on what you want to achieve and your intentions for that particular competition, and build it back. Every training session, so you do your speed work, the power work, the strength work, the hypertrophy work, the base work, and work it back in weeks and weeks, week blocks, and 8-week training cycles from that major goal. So everything's very planned and formulated moving forward. And that doesn't mean that the goals won't change necessarily, or your expectation might change as you kind of recognize the form that you're building or the strength that you're building. But there is a format and a schedule that is written way into the future. It's kind of reassuring in some ways. I definitely enjoy working that way and knowing where I am or where I'd like to be, because it also gives you a reference point to check back in yourself and say, am I on target? Am I achieving what I need to achieve in order to get here? If not, maybe we need to change it. If I am, then maybe we can just take a breath and enjoy it a little bit more. So it kind of, there's always a reference point to draw back to. When you're never just walking out into the middle of nowhere without a specific objective, which is something I really missed when I retired, because I'd existed in this really well-planned format for so long.
So did you learn, so a couple of questions, did you learn that from, were you always programmed that way to set goals far in advance, or did you learn that from being part of the team in Manchester?
I learned that from being part of the team in Manchester. So it was just the way that things were done. And I moved into a team full of very experienced riders. When I joined the team, there was World, Olympic, Commonwealth champions around me. And there was no one really that I was training with or working with on a daily basis who was less than a Commonwealth champion. So for me, I was in a really elite group of individuals, and I did what I could to gain as much experience from them as possible, because rubbing shoulders with those guys gave me an insight in what was necessary in order to be the best at what you do. And they were always very helpful in helping me schedule my training, give me sort of suggestions on how I might change things. Because at that time, we didn't have a national coach that was better than the current squad, because we'd never been that good before. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky that the guys within the team were always really helpful and had a lot more experience than me, and they were willing to share it. So I took as many opportunities to ask 1,001 questions to make sure that I was doing what they were doing.
And spend as much time with them as possible.
Because I wanted to achieve what they achieved.